So yeah, today we're gonna review two games. Game one is gonna be one of Takemiya's games, as we can see here, recent one. Game two, I guess technically you're correct. Game two is a Yisadol game, but they're both influence oriented. They are both extremely influence oriented. In this game, we get to see Takemiya play for influence, and maybe he wins, maybe he loses. And Yisadol gets to play against influence, and we will see how he does that. Yisadol's game I'm probably not going to review all the way because it's really, really long, and it goes pretty much to counting before it gets resigned by whoever resigns. Slightly obnoxious, but yeah, we're probably not going to review all that. Takemiya's game, however, we are going to review. That's the game that I want to do first and foremost. Because I thought this was like totally unlike what I usually go over, right? So Takemiya opens up with me not having advertised on KGS. Let's go do that again real quick. Lecture, yeah, on influence, starting in the enclave. There's no N there. Or there. Room under social, open to all. And let's put that in the beginner's room while we're at it. There we go. My two advertisements before I'm kicked off of KGS. A little bit early, yeah. A little bit early. But Dasan is here, and he is the important person. So we can start. Alright. So we're not going to see Sanrinsei. Everyone calm down. We are going to see Takemiya begin with a nice 4-4 approach. We are going to see him threaten the Sanrinsei. But thankfully, he does not actually play Sanrinsei. If he had played Sanrinsei, I may have overlooked this game and gone on to something else, maybe only Yisadol's. I've got a kind of psychotic hatred for the Sanrinsei. It's not healthy, but it's there. So he approaches. So White pulls back, doesn't pincer. Sets up easy framework. Now from this framework, we usually see a couple of things. One thing I don't like seeing is a very specific variation that we're going to see right now. I don't like seeing Black pincer this particular approach. Because I don't like kind of getting that putting all of my eggs in one basket kind of go style. I usually recommend people to actually back off if they play this, and then if your opponent goes into your corner, you can like pincer or attach. But pincering to end in goat to develop an area, I usually feel a little uncomfortable with. So this is interesting. It's putting me a little bit out of my comfort zone. White goes in. What are you seeing? We're seeing this exact thing. We're seeing Black developing an area, right? At the bottom of the board. This can go one of two ways. White goes up. We can play here. It is his style anyway. But yeah, this kind of thing I usually don't like so much. Because now Black has to like develop the bottom. If it gets too reduced, then we kind of give away our corner. What do we really give away our corner for? Is it going to be enough? All those sorts of wonderful questions. Like, can this be reduced? Yeah, it can be reduced. We know that there's like reduction points here. We can kind of lightly reduce it here. Yeah, so it's pretty much a big bullseye. Your opponent knows what he needs to do. You know what you need to do. And if one person's like better at this one thing than the other, then someone's at a bit of a disadvantage. So alright, we're playing this Jiseki, which I do like for white. I never actually drop down anymore in my actual games. I dislike this completely, and I'm completely in love with the Aji that this leaves behind. So I'm glad he played this way. Because this way, as you can see here, it leaves behind the cut point, and that cut point is so large. Takemiya defends the cut point like this. It's not normal. Usually we see this with a peep. And to really rub salt in the wound, not only do we have that peep, but we also have this later, because we can't really kill it without threatening a Ko, right? So that's a ton of Aji. This is a picnic Ko. You cannot play this as black. So when this invasion's played, we don't get to keep it in. We don't get to defend K4. We get to do something different. Usually like lean on it like this to get that stupid Ko out of there. So it's almost a free move in that respect. If there was any amount of Aji on the left-hand side that caused us to choose this invasion point, then we just get to keep going right along and reducing and poking all that Aji. Like even right now, for example, this would be awkward. Because what are you going to do? Defend again? So that's why I like this for white. Though I am not used to seeing this for black. Takemiya going completely insane on the influence. Now, white has a choice. Do we immediately start reducing? Do we approach? Do we take Sanrinsei on the left-hand side? Because why not? Recommended to approach. Okay. Everyone agree with approach? Should we do something different? Should we play on the left-hand side? Should we approach? Should we enclose? Anyone have recommendations? I guess we are all on board with him with the approaching. Okay. White disagrees. White being very cautious of all the influence that black has. So white takes start point. Same idea though. Black defends its framework. This kind of goes back to the whole building up like one giant bullseye thing that I mentioned, because you're going to be using all of your Sentei to really defend this framework. Because we know there's a lot of problems with the invasion. And there's a lot of problems with moves like N3. And you kind of want to get rid of these if you can. So alright, not surprising that we see that. White approaches, pretty much the same deal. Now, I would be tempted to play Q14 here, because I want to try to make this into a bit more of a territorial game and not just solely for the influence. Takemiya, on the other hand, has different ideas. He wants just all of the influence. So where do you think he plays? Where do you think black plays here? Going for just the influence. Whoa, M16. Alright, we'll mention that. Any other suggestions on what black can do? M16's an interesting idea. O16! Oh, cattle prod. Thank you very much for saying that. I really, really like... I really was hoping someone would say that move. Because it's a move that I've been seeing a lot everywhere. Even when you shouldn't even be using the attachment, I've been seeing the attachment. It's like one of the things that if you were to start an account on an Asian server right now, and I don't know why this is a thing, but if you start your account on World Baduk or Taigem or Netmarble, where I've been playing lately, what you're going to see is someone attaching to you at 016. It's just a thing. Unfortunately, that kind of makes your opponent stronger. We kind of want to get stronger while threatening our opponent without making him stronger if possible. So, did someone actually say it? 015, yeah, directly under it. Yeah. Exactly. This, we're threatening, we're capping our opponent's stone, we're not touching him, we're not making him stronger, we're getting that influence, right? And it's up to white to figure out, is your stone in trouble? Do you have to defend yourself? Do you not defend yourself? Do you invade? Do I get to follow up against 017 now? All those lovely things. So white says, I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to go for territory. Now here's a question. You are still black. It is now your move, and you want to keep building up influence. How do we go about it? I mean, some people would drop the whole influence building thing right now, and maybe reduce our opponent on the top or the left or something. Not Takemiya. He's going all in on the influence. F7 so close. You want to try to be Sente. There we go. Red King and Yakami. Yes, even Dasan's like, yeah, just play F7. Why would you shoulder hit a 4th line stone? Well, apparently in this case you would do it if you were trying to continue building up a bunch of influence. We don't care if we're giving away 4th line territory, as long as we get to keep developing. Why? Because we're all in. All our chips are on the table. This is what we're doing. We're building up this area. So, that's what we're going to do. Now, the beauty of Takemiya's approach is... Oh my god, it simplifies things so much. What are we doing? That is what we're doing. On the other hand, if white gets to successfully reduce this area, then we're not doing much else, and we've given away 4th line territory. That's kind of why... it's a bit less common to see this kind of style. So, alright. White says, I'm going to defend myself, not make you stronger. Black says, I'm going to poke a fight, because any fight will make me stronger in the center, where I want to be. White goes to live. Black says, I don't care about my corner. White says, then I'll take it. Black says, prove it. So now we're fighting a little bit. And as we can see here, we're completely sealing him into the corner. Sacrificed our corner for extra influence. Right? Pretty straightforward. And now with that amount of influence, if it was me, I'd be looking over here. Or over here, trying to attack that K16 stone. Because I want the influence to, like, do something. He wants his influence to be influence. Look how much... That's, like, so basic. It's, like, right along the outer edge. He's just like, that's just gonna be mine. I'm just gonna make this my area now. Which, admittedly, is pretty strong, because now if we envision, like, these stones over here, the top does still die. Or at least get severely attacked. But yeah, this is all or nothing go. And White's just like, alright, I'm gonna take my territory now. Black says, okay. It's almost better than Tengen. Because it's not Tengen, it's better than Tengen. That move is thought about. One of the reasons why I hate Tengen is because I see a lot of people just, like, playing it randomly. Like... Let's see, get an example. They'd be like, alright, I'm gonna play Tengen now. To make an area. But that doesn't really go with anything, so it's a really strange move. Or they'd, like, break off and play it here. Or maybe over here. Like, maybe Tengen is a good move to play in a game sometimes, but they usually play it entirely too early. So it just makes the whole thing weird. J12 is pretty much on the line. If we'd, like, draw, like, imaginary line between these two stones, it's almost like right along the line, right? The outer edge of his influence. So with his J12 stone, he's essentially saying anything to the right or below this is mine. Go away. So we try to create conflict. Black backs off. No luck for you. And to be fair, White's threatening a lot for himself as well. He's threatening to extend up the F7 line, right? Which is huge. But unfortunately is not enough. So White feels he has to reduce. Usually when we want reduction, we want to look for where we have forcing moves. So White says that's a forcing move. Now I'm not certain that we're still playing Go and we're just gone crazy. Because this seems a little bit too, a touch aggressive. But it also highlights what I said rather perfectly. That it's kind of like all or nothing Go. This kind of thing, especially in the hands of amateurs, where both players are making mistakes, a move like this will live almost every time. When the only thing a group needs to do is survive, it's usually pretty good at surviving. If there's nothing else it has to consider, just don't die. And it's kind of hard to actually kill it. Maybe a misclick. No, I don't think he's me. I'm the only one that I know that misclicks every game. So alright. Gotta respond. Black plays the Hane above. Keeping him in this little area here. White decides to go... Can White... Let's see, White can... Yeah. He has Aji here. He has Aji with these cut points. This is what he's aiming at. Using something here. He doesn't know what, so he's poking at everything. And attaching to everything. Because we're trying to see what we have available to us. Just use every bit amount of Aji that we have on the board. And after that, maybe we see a way to make shape. So we have Aji there, we have Aji here. Can Hane? Maybe. Maybe. Might live. Might live indeed. Black plays the Atari. Right now it's not looking good for him. But now we've got cuts. So now there's Aji. Black keeps him in. Separates. Invites a double Hane or double Atari because this doesn't do anything. And that right there is all or nothing go. If this thing lives now, game over. So we've now gone from kind of passively making this area to being about as aggressive as Yi Sedol. So what do we do here? How do we look at this group and find out where its shape points are? How do we poke at shape? What do we do? Where's shape point to poke at? P11. Problem P11. Desun nails it. And Spinal Tap Chess in chat on Twitch also nails it. Q10 is the shape that we're looking at, yeah. We could play this one. But it leaves problems here. And... well, actually, it even leaves a problem here, to be honest. There's a problem there and there. They might wind up getting killed. But yes, Q10, definitely where to go. White pokes, but we're connected, so we're all good. Tries to escape. We're not going to Hane, because that leaves Aji. Attached to all the things, because we need to try to leave. Keep our opponent in. White cuts looking for Aji. Can't try to cut through, sadly, because the Atari at R7, so all we can do is play here. Alright. Tiny victory. We got to connect. Very tiny victory. We got to connect. But that got to connect. We need to be careful now. Because this group is suddenly in trouble. Right? Because of the zones that are over here. So black says, gotta be careful here. Keep you dead. White says, I'll get to connect then. Nice and solid. White's looking not for that. For more Aji. Now we get to read. Because if we Hane, we're dead. We don't like being dead, so we're going to bend. Can't cut this off. Not enough liberties. Now there's enough. Now we're fine. This is, however, a little bit odd. Because it seems like you're forcing white to capture. Or black to capture, rather. But do you really have to? Black says, no, I don't. I can begin the capture race. We're good. Nah, we're not so good anymore. So the question becomes now, since that's connected up, since we can't go anywhere, since our group is completely dead, can we do anything else? And the answer to that is no. So white resigns. This was one of the craziest games I've seen this week. What's the moral of this story? Sometimes it's good to go all in. I don't know what the moral of the story is. I thought this was like a really, really good game. One that I'm not used to playing. Don't see it very often. People are usually very hesitant to just go all in on a large area and be like, we're gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. But yeah, what we see here, it was pretty straightforward. We just kept playing all the forcing moves until we managed to get a little bit. Got a little bit for ourselves, just not quite enough. Let's see, there was one other game that I wanted to go over. One with Isidol, so I'm going to close this and open up a game. And we'll go over and see how Isidol rather, who is white in that game, decides to try and actually reduce influence. Let's see, we've got Isidol versus a Chinese player. Wow, 3 letters in your first name, and I misspelled it. Nice, nice. I like that a lot. Alright. So we have Korean player versus Chinese player. And in this game, opens up a little bit differently. Here, we have black opening up with a 3-4 point. So don't always expect influence from a 3-4 point, but maybe we'll see what he is up to. Dual 3-4 points. Okay. We even more rarely see an influence game out of open with a dual 3-4 points, because that usually says territory. If you were going to play an influential game right now, how would you proceed? And I wish I had Inazuma here to ask this question to. Those of you who saw the video will know the answer. Q10. Q10 would be very strange, because you're leaving the 3-4 stone that's facing your opponent completely untouched. That's always the more important of the 2 3-4 stones. D17 is always the most important stone here. And the reason why I say that, whatever. The reason why I say that is because we play anything else, and our opponent gets to approach us, then we kind of feel like we're in a lot of trouble. Because our opponent gets to attack and expand at the same time, while we're off doing things on the right side of the board. The reason why we had our 3-4 stone facing our opponent is because we wanted to do something over there. We had in mind to do either like an enclosure or a Chinese variant or something. Approaching is also fine, because this is a bit fighty. Your opponent can ignore you to play here, but now we're a bit more comfortable in pincering, because we have E4 on the bottom of the board to aid us in our attempts. In fact, if we saw a pincer here, I would expect an ignore on whatever he plays next. But that's getting a little bit far afield from our original intention. Suffice it to say, we do a large knight enclosure, because large knights are for influence. And I should type that to Kendall right now. Oh my god, she just said hello. Hi. Because yeah, if you haven't seen the game yet, uploaded it to YouTube. I coached her during a game of hers where she was playing a one-dan, and we got into the same thing, which is why I brought that up. Alright, so large knight, influence, cool. White says I'm going to approach farther away. Isn't influence facing the low c4 a bit odd? No, your influence isn't actually facing the low 3/4 stone. You can think of this as a wall, right? You can kind of think of this as a wall. Which way is the wall facing? The wall is facing this way. It's not facing over here. Alright, so we have that. Black has two options here. Could pincer. Could go for territory. Goes for territory rather than going in the all-in, like we saw in Takemiya's game. This would be kind of the all-in strategy. If you play this way, because now what white has to do is just like reduce this area over here, and if this area over here gets reduced, then black's gonna feel kind of sad because white's got 3 corners now, and we're not sure what we got in exchange. So I would be uncomfortable with that, but given the game that we just went over, maybe that would be fine to do. I cannot definitively say, no, that is a bad idea, given what we just saw. White backs off high. This is our trigger, how we know we can actually play for influence here. This tells us how we can shape the game. Why does this tell us how we can shape the game? What about this group tells us how we can continue? As black, that is. M17 is one thing, yes. Anything else? No base yet, let's see, it being open is kind of approaching what I'm looking for here. That's kind of getting there, H17, we'll see it in a minute. Black approaches. Red flags went off. White backed off. Got confirmation. Time to keep them low. We don't see this very often. This is more of a early 2000 style of play. I saw both Isidol as well as Yi Cheng-ho play this in a couple of their games. A bit rare to see nowadays, but still valuable. We're giving territory to our opponent, clearly, and in exchange, we're getting the wall for influence. So the question becomes, what is this wall going to do? How much can we get here? Well, first thing white does is play L16 because the Hane gives so much Aji. Isn't P16 a problem? Not yet, no. If we play it now, for example, question becomes, where is this going to go? What's happening here? You have to be really, really careful with this particular Hane. Because one thing we don't want to do is play this, right? And out to Atari. This is getting problematic. Could probably Hane and achieve the same effect too, but whatever. So we play here. Black says, I'm going all in. We're building. White says that's fine. I'm gonna take some territory here. Now, if it were Takemiya, maybe he'd lean against the N4 stone and just keep building up. Black's trying to build up a little bit more aggressively than that. And he plays E4 instead, because he's approaching high, because we know high is for typically, you know, fourth line influence. So we know why he's approaching high rather than low. Only question is, how much influence is White going to give him? White says, have all the influence. I don't care. I am playing for territory. Black says, okay, I'm gonna, yeah, more influence. Sweet. That's what I wanted. Plays a bit passively, but going for just solid territory. And a lot of it. So Black has to decide how he's going to use all of that for development. The problem here is there is still Aji with those 3 stones. Aji that Black decides that he's not going to go quite all in on and try and reduce, rather than playing something completely ridiculous like the extend on out or something. White says, okay, I'm not going to wait around for you to develop this even further. I'm going to keep reducing you. Black says, go ahead. I'll get the influence. Again. Now we could connect, but connecting's Gote. So White probes corner, looking for Aji again. And here is where a bit of an interesting fight occurs. Because rather than play locally, either the Hane at B18 or turning at D16, Black decides to make himself stronger first before replying, which is a pretty cool idea. I do like that idea a lot. But White doesn't get distracted. He's trying to live on the left, so that's what he's going to do. Black has to respond. Now we're getting some shape. Black can follow up, but really it's not the end of the world. So we're doing well here. Now we're alive on top of the board for Black, hopefully. Throw in, force a capture. And there we go. That is an insane variation. I mean, it looked like we were trying to completely surround White. Instead, White began surrounding Black. So the question is, now what are we going to do? You have this influence. How do you use it? How do we use the influence that white now has? D10. Good answer. A stone that immediately begins poking at the weak group here. And keeping an eye on the bottom one as well. There's a lot of Aji here, right? And forcing moves for white. I mean, that's a forcing move right there, threatening to connect on up. If that's a forcing move, we can probably peep at the shape point. Lots of problems. So black attaches. Maybe we can cut through at F16 if we get stronger. Yep, there is G at F16. Yep. Strengthening ourselves. And connecting. Now, here's one of the reasons why I found this game very, very interesting. Because there's an idea at work here. Your opponent's trying to use influence to win. If there's one thing, and one thing only, that white does not want to do, and that white does not want to give himself a weak group, that black can use to punch around and use that influence effectively. So this group, it's weak. White says, go ahead and kill it. I'll take 2 stones. Black says, no, I kill everything. White says, prove it. Disgusting moves, disgusting moves. Oh my god, disgusting moves. Usually when you have to Atari all the things, you're playing disgusting moves. But unfortunately, you kind of have to right now. Connect up, threaten to kill. Sacrifice cornerstones. Peeps at shape point. Again, not really caring right now if G13 is played and 4 more stones die. Because we're trying to attack the bottom stones. We're not getting involved in defending anything. We're going to attack until we can't. And we're going to reduce that way. So alright, we attach. That has to be responded to. Gonna try and play out. Okay. Forcing moves. Right, strengthening our wall. Black extends. Again, forcing, we can Hane and Sente. We're getting shape here. Things are looking good. More forcing moves. Seeing if there's algae on the right-hand side. That one's a little bit weird. Did not expect that one, because I thought the Atari would kill instantly. But it doesn't quite yet. If it's surrounded, we can kind of sacrifice yield our 16. And that's not an actual lie. So, okay, I guess that makes sense. Sure, why not? I guess we're going to sacrifice then. Nothing there for us. Get stronger. complete our sacrifice, and threaten to kill the middle. That's really, really aggressive. Suddenly, all of this influence is turned into territory, and White has the influence. White's the one able to attack the things, which is kind of strange, which is because usually when you have influence, you're the one that's like going all aggressive and attacking and whatnot. But because Ysuto was willing to sacrifice his stones until he got to strengthen something, he's found himself a little group to attack. So the previous game, we saw White go all in, all or nothing, try to reduce. Here, White's willing to make compromises so he can get influence to begin reducing the threats. So we attach, White backs off, nice and strong. We get cut, usually we don't Atari. But that ladder keeps us safe long enough to go back and kill, which means Black can't respond to it. He has to not die here. Ignore the irrelevant Atari because that's not gonna help save his group. Connect on up. Not an irrelevant Atari. We have to respond to there. Black's trying not to get killed at this point. He's got 5 liberties left to make something happen. Atari to safety, because we're getting cut off. Now this was a little odd. Because right now, Black is not content to live. Black instead says, I'm gonna threaten to cut through you and take 2 stones later. Which White completely disagrees with. Threatens to kill 2 stones. White again disagrees. Now Black's probably alive. Cuts off that. Threatens to save his stones. Pretty well saved now, I think. And thus the game is turned a little bit more complicated. Let's see, how much did I want to review? Not a whole lot more. Because this is about where I wanted to stop, actually, now I think about it. Yeah, it was. Because I liked how White handled this upper left-hand side. This was played kind of like a probe. The group is weak. He's using it lightly to attack. And lightly does mean you're willing to give it up. So, okay, he gives it up in exchange for strength elsewhere. Because all we're trying to do is get strong somewhere in the middle, so the influence isn't going to go out of control. And here he got what he was looking for. That's a completely different approach to the first game, where we saw, well, I'm just going to give you everything, then invade, and hope I'm not dead. Here, we can let little things be dead as long as we get strength overall to reduce the influence. And by the time everything's all done and spoken for, congratulations, this is turned back into a territorial game. We're going to be fighting over little points. So, interesting ways of handling influence for both players. Who wins in the end? White does. Isidol wins in the end.